Hey, good evening. Welcome to A Foreigner in the Philippines. In the past, I've done some videos on the OFW, and I've done it from various. The very first that I did, I was concerned about the fact that OFWs, the women, take terrible risks. The list of risks seems almost endless, and my sincerest wish is that women will not ever have to go abroad to work in these places where they are going to be abused. Now, tonight, somebody sent me a video of a lady called Annie Cyrus. Now, if you go on YouTube and type in Annie Cyrus, A-N-N-I, and Cyrus, C-Y-R-U-S. She is a Muslim woman who lived under Sharia law, and she was in Iran, and she was in Iran at the time, I think, she was either in Iran living at the time of the revolution, or that she was speaking of her experience and what she knew of what happened when the Iranian revolution went, and our friend Khomeini took over and instituted Sharia law. I wondered about this because she talked about some horrendous experiences. She was talking about how Sharia law states that a child can actually be married, can be sold, right? Can be sold for dollars. They can get married at the age of 6 years old. Get married at the age of 6 years old. The marriage cannot be constituted until the child is 9 years old. Well, thank God, heavens for that, you know. We don't want it to be too premature, do we? Sorry, I'm not being facetious here. This is a horrendous situation. Now, with Sharia law comes an awful lot of stuff, and it's not easy to stomach. You have vaginal circumcision, where they mutilate the child. I don't know what the reasoning is there, really, other than the woman is not supposed to be able to have any pleasure from intercourse except by what? How do they work that out? I really don't know. But in that talk, they did show one child, not easy to watch. It wasn't a video. It was a still, and it wasn't that graphic. Okay, so it wasn't gruesome, but it did show the agony that little girl was going through when she was being pinned down and without anesthetic was having that terrible thing done to her. And then you've got the fact that according to Sharia law, a father may sell his daughter. So he may sell his daughter, and the man who buys, I mean, if you go in, hate to put it this way, but if you go in and buy a loaf of bread, they don't say to you, well, I don't know, what kind of person are you? Maybe this loaf of bread doesn't want to be sold. And yet they are selling with the same rights as a loaf of bread. There's no question. A child is not allowed to question. Now, actually, in the Quran, I actually have a copy, and I've been looking at that book today, until it was actually explained to me by this lady, Annie. I didn't actually know how to interpret what I was seeing, but she begged of the audience that they should look at the Quran just on the part for woman. It actually says woman or women, and then it tells all the various ways that a woman has whatever rights. They're only half a woman because they came from a man, okay? So they only have half of the rights that anybody that is a man has. Now, one of the things that she went into in graphic detail, really, and it made me think about OFWs. Now, she said that rape is a common thing, and when they are, I've forgotten what the name is now. I always thought it was called the burqa, and I very disrespectfully or facetiously called it the Batman outfit. But it amounts to this, doesn't it? Except that it's in black. Now that's the burqa. Now there's another version of that where just this part of the face, they don't have the hair is not shown, and all of that is not shown. Now, in the Quran, which is the basis of Sharia law, it says that if the woman chooses not to cover her hair and all of this and down to the chest, if she is advised to do this, because if she doesn't, she's likely to be abused. And what that actually means, according to Miss Cyrus, is that she will be abused. In other words, it's a threat. Now, accordingly, Muhammad had many wives, and when the Quran talks about how a husband should behave, it talks about wives. That's plural, not just one. And if a woman is seen without this and to be in Western dress, chances are that she's going to be raped. Now, here's the thing, because of the way that women's rights or lack of them are set up, if she went and made a complaint against the person that raped her, she would have to have 4 witnesses. Well, you can imagine that must be just a breeze, finding 4 witnesses to a rape. So that doesn't happen. But in complaining, she has now made herself guilty in the rape. And this is a very sobering thing to think about. And that is that she will have had intercourse, if she cannot prove rape with her 4 witnesses, then she's admitted not to rape, she's admitted to having intercourse with a man. And then she is likely to be put to death. So rape is rewarded by killing the woman, is what it amounts to. Now, she also went and she showed the pictures of women, not old women, and one woman was sentenced to 2 years imprisonment because she danced a traditional dance to traditional music, but she made a video in her own bedroom and she posted it on Facebook. She's now facing 2 years in prison. And there were lots of other examples of how Sharia law is carried out. And then, surprisingly, this lady says that Sharia law is actually in place in parts of America, that Sharia law has come there because there are Muslim men, and the way that they think is according to Sharia law, which is based in the Quran, which is a Christian's Bible. So it really is a shock. I shouldn't say shocking, a terrible state of affairs. Now, why would I particularly be talking about this? Because, well, apart from the fact that it was a very upsetting video to watch, to listen to what this woman had been through. She was married off against her will before the age of 14. She was sold to a man who, according to Sharia law, if he thought that she was going to be disobedient, he could beat her. Now, then, against her will, they consummated the marriage that she had never agreed to. So, rape. So, her life varied only between beatings and rape. Now, the young woman who had received 2 years was going to receive 80 lashes with a leather whip. So we're not just looking at the time, 11:25. We're looking at the fact that we're in this day and age, this is happening to people. Now, the other thing, according to Sharia law, is at the age of 9 years old, a child is declared an adult. And if you go to that video, you will see one particular still photo of what looked like hundreds of children standing there. And it's as if they are being sworn in as adults, and they're told, you are now an adult and responsible for your actions. Well, part of those actions will be to be sold and married off and have that marriage consummated at the age of 9. So how am I possibly going to link this in with OFWs? It's actually common knowledge that OFWs are targets for abuse. Now, I'm not saying that every OFW that goes out is going to be abused, is going to be raped, is going to be punished, is going to be imprisoned. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is that enough happens that it's a cause for concern, because I've already dealt with the idea, with the concept of the kind of sacrifice that an OFW Filipina makes in order to support her family back in the Philippines. She gives up, believe me, she gives up her life. And she goes and she works. Usually, quite often, she is on call in her job as a maid. In some abusive households, she is on call 24/7. No day off. No day off. Maybe a day off once a month, and working those kind of hours. And then, if she's in a country which has Sharia law, all of what I've been talking about is prevalent. All of those things that this woman, Annie Cyrus, was talking about are there in a threat because that's what can happen. Now the idea that if a woman is a good, decent woman, and so just saying, listen, this is not what I came for, this is not right, and hoping that she will be listened to, is a little bit like the joke. And once again, not trying to be facetious, but the idea that everybody will respect you if you're a nice person is a little bit like expecting that the bull will not charge you in a field because you're a vegetarian. It's not going to happen, and this is the risk that comes with it. And I thought it was important enough to wonder, well, I always thought it was only in a couple of places that Sharia law was there. So in other words, if an OFW, this is the risk. I'm not saying this is what happens every time. I'm saying this is the risk. And talking about risk, Annie Cyrus made a point. She said, on your way out, there's a big bowl of M&Ms. Help yourself. By the way, there's 3 or 4 M&Ms in there which are poisonous, but it's only 3 or 4. You can see a point, can't you? And that's my point, is that when someone takes a job abroad from the Philippines, boy, they're targets. I'm sorry, but they are targets, and you have to be aware of the risks. So, where are you likely to go where Sharia law is in practice? According to, I believe, Google, I got Beth to put this in and Google it and find out where Sharia law is actually being practiced. Whether it's the entire country or not, I don't know. Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, I think this is Mauritania, I'm not sure, Sudan, and the Yemen. When OFWs arrive at their port and they're picked up, as long as they're in the company of a man, their employer, they'll get back and it won't be so bad. But probably the usual MO is that even though it's illegal in almost every country, the employer will say, give me your passport, and they hand over their passport, but it's only so that they can register it, and then I guess it's implied that they will get it back, but they rarely do. So now they're in a strange country that is under Sharia law, where if they go out and they are not in the traditional head to foot black robe with everything but their eyes hidden, they can be raped and then killed because they were raped. Well, let's face it, they had intercourse with a man, so it's their own fault, isn't it? And they can't get to the police. Annie Cyrus, our video lady, said that at the age of 15 she got tired of being beaten up and raped, beaten up and raped, beaten up and raped again and again, and she went there with a dislocated shoulder and bruises to the face, black eye, and she presented herself at the office of the judge and she said, please help me to get away from this. And his advice to her was, maybe you should go back and practice being a good wife. So, it's a sobering thought, not a feel-good thing, but it's what's happening out there. That's the thing. It's what's happening out there. And when I talk to Beth and I talk to other women, and they have as their dream to work abroad, and the places where they work abroad, so many, as I've just said on the list, are under Sharia law. I mean, it's bad enough if they go to America, where they can still be enslaved, and they go to the UK. I've heard terrible stories of the UK. So, really need to be careful. The batteries run low, can't do anything else. Thanks for looking in. Bye for now.